Are you constantly looking for ways to make your mix sound cleaner? I just discovered a secret weapon that I think you're gonna love. Check this out. So I'm gonna show you a before and after of what my mix sounds like without the secret weapon and with the secret weapon.
We've been waiting for forever for so long, and now we're writing our own story and now. We've been waiting for forever for so long, and now we're writing our own story and now.
Okay, so listening to these comparisons, you can definitely tell that the second version is a lot cleaner. The vocals pop, the instruments sound great. The kick and the drums are balanced with the bass. It just sounds a lot cleaner. The plugin that I'm talking about today, by the way, this is not sponsored. I have not talked to Waves Factory at all. I just came across this plugin and decided to test it out, and it is definitely one of my new favorites and go-tos, something that I'm going to use on every single project. It's called trackspacer. Essentially, what this plugin does is it scans the frequencies of the sound that you're applying it to and basically carve out space for what you need to carve out space. Let me give you a few examples of how I've used this on this track. So there's quite a few ways that I've used trackspacer in this, not just for sidechaining, like for reverb, delay, and other types of effects, but also just to kind of carve out space for the right frequencies between things that are competing. So the first thing that I used it on was actually between this synth and my vocals. Now, let me show you what the synth sounds by itself. Okay, and then we have the vocals. If I add in the vocals, you're gonna see without the track spacer on it, the synth kind of overlaps and muddies the frequencies that the vocal needs to be in. So let's take a quick listen.
Dance in the dark on the top of the Rari. Break all the rules, you can leave with me tonight.
And now with track spacer.
Dance in the dark on the top of the Rari. Break all the rules, you can leave with me tonight. We can break all the rules, we can make all the rules tonight.
And in the context of the entire mix,
Been waiting for dance in the dark on the top of the Rari. Break all the rules, you can leave with me tonight. We can break all the rules, we can make all the rules tonight.
okay, so let me show you a little bit of what is going on here and how to use this plugin. Basically, we've got the main ratio here. This is what controls how aggressive this is. And then this is a low cut and a high cut, basically exactly what they sound like. You're channeling in the frequency range that you want to be affected. You put this on the track that you want to duck out. I've put this on the synth because I want that one to kind of be attenuated and controlled so that the vocals can kind of have their own space. So then you go up here to sidechain and you select what you want it to sidechain to. So in this case, I've sent it to my vocals bus because I want the vocals to be the data that it's using here. So it will use the frequencies that the vocals live in and these parameters that I've put here to then adjust and basically punch out the right frequencies in the synth so that then the vocals will have their own space. Now, if you click on this little circle, this little button, this is super important. Basically, if you do left and right, then you're controlling left and right. And typically you want to use mid-side, which is what I'm using here. So basically the pan feature here tells you how much of the mid and side you're controlling. So essentially I am controlling the mid-side information where I want most of it to keep the vocals kind of in the mid-range. And so whatever's in the mid-range of the synth is what's being affected here. And I've put that to about 54%. Some people like to be super aggressive, which is totally fine. You can make it 100% mid or 100% side or somewhere in the middle. But this is what I selected for this one. And then if you select sidechain, it actually lets you listen to what you've selected as a sidechain. So don't be fooled by that. That's not an on and off button. It's literally kind of a solo button for you to be able to hear what is being sidechained. And then you can go back to the main with clicking on that button. Let me show you where else I've used this. So I use this to get the kick to really stand out from the bass. So here's our bass line. So with that bass sound, then we have this kick drum. So I'm going to show you what it sounds like without the track spacer on it, and halfway through it, I'm going to turn on the track spacer. So you can really hear the kick is actually punchier, especially in the frequencies that I selected here. So I did between 83 and 258. And the ratio is at 15%. So essentially what I've done here is I've put the track spacer on my bass track and selected the track where my kick drum is and narrowed down the frequency range to be right here, because I know that right here is kind of where the life of the kick drum is, to get a little bit more of that punch sound without totally affecting these lower frequencies and that I want the actual bass to take over. So I'm going to show you within the context of the entire mix without the vocals. Just pay attention to the relationship between the bass and the kick drum and how well you can hear them. Okay, so those are two very, very important ways that I've used it on this mix, but I've also used it on some of my reverb and delay effects. So let me show you what that looks like here. So if we go over to my vocals, I have a bus for the reverb. So I've got my reverb going on here, but then I've also got a track spacer on it. So what I've done is I've actually mapped that to go to the actual vocal so that my reverb isn't wishy-washy all over the vocal. So it's basically an alternative or another way to do some side chaining to control some of your effects, like the reverb and like the delay. So let me show you what that sounds like.
Nothing feels more better than this. Dance in the dark on the top of the Rari. Break all the rules, you can leave with me tonight. Better than this. Dance in the dark on the top of the Rari. Break all the rules, you can leave with me tonight.
It's a night and day difference on how clean the reverb is acting on the vocal. It's really not muddying up the vocal. You can hear it front and center, but you still have the space effect that the reverb gives you. And that's the beauty of using track spacer. I also used it on the delay. So let me show you the comparison before and after on the delay.
Better than this. Dance in the dark on the top of the Rari. Break all the rules, you can leave with me tonight. We can break all the rules, we can make all the rules tonight.
It is just so much cleaner. And I think it's because of how it really maps out the frequencies to do the side chaining effect, that it is so much more accurate than just picking a frequency for it to sidechain on a threshold of volume. This track is so much cleaner than it was before. It's so much more detailed and fine-tuned on how you're getting frequencies to work with each other. Another scenario where track spacer would actually be a game changer is, let's say that you're recording vocals and mixing them with a 2-track. Essentially, you have a beat track, a full instrumental track, and you're trying to mix vocals to it. This makes the mixing process so much easier when all you have to work with is one track for the beat and then all of your vocals. Because now you can put track spacer on the beat and then sidechain that to your vocals, and now your vocals have this carved out space to live within the mix without having it just totally kill a frequency. So there you have it, guys. Track spacer from Waves Factory. Highly recommend it. I'm going to be using it in all of my future productions. And now I'm curious to check out some of their other plugins. This is the first plugin I ever get from Waves Factory. And again, like I said, this is not sponsored. I've just been messing around and finding new things that work with my production. So hopefully you learned something from this video. If you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss future videos. And as always, if you want to see more content, make sure to follow me on Spotify, Instagram, TikTok. Keep making beats.
I was so done with looking for the right one.